Sam Nordquist, Sonia Massey, Devontae Mitchell, Terrell Miller, Sade Robinson, Kayla Miller, Righteous Torrance Chevy Hill, Isaac Goodlow, Jason McConney, Jelena England, Steve Perkins, Hubert Brown, Takaya Young, Keandre Green, O'Shea Sibley, Fanta Ability, Kendrick Lee, LaMelo Parker, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor. Did you know that African Americans account for 51% of the hate crimes done in this country? Are you sure you're not racist? It is the last day of Black History Month 2025, and I felt compelled to come on here and to speak for my community again, and I will keep doing it until there's some real fucking change. So if you were looking for some frivolous little video, it's not coming this week. It'll come next week. But for now, we're talking about some real shit. So strap in. Anti-blackness is the systematic denial of Black humanity and dignity. So when I'm talking about the context of anti-blackness, this is what I'm talking about. Moments where Black and brown people from the African diaspora, are treated as subhuman to the alternative of being Black or brown. And I include brown because a lot of the reasons overlap. I don't want to isolate those experiences. But just know there's a lot of intersectionality. What is intersectionality? It's an analysis of different identities people can have and what that says about them, or what people may perceive about them. For example, because of me being a woman, I have shared experiences with other women, which can sometimes cross racial lines. But because I'm a Black woman, I have a unique perspective compared to a white woman. And because I am a mixed race Black woman, I have different experiences and a different perspective from a darker skinned Black woman. You see, it is important to acknowledge intersectionality because you cannot have a conversation with someone if you don't know the context. In order to respect people on an equal basis, you must acknowledge their intersectionality. You with me? Cool. Because these are a lot of big words. Everything else that I can inform you of when I tell you so easily be researched and fact checked online. Now, for the homework. What are aspects of your being, your person, yes? What are the intersectionalities do you feel like you cover? A woman? Are you a man? Non-binary? Are you a part of the LGBT community? High likelihood. Are you a person of color? Are you from the Middle East? Are you an immigrant? All of these aspects make up who you are, and they shape your unique perspective. And everything I say will be filtered through your lens. These are not liberal made-up concepts. These are aspects of our identity that shape who we are and what we stand for. As a Black woman, I have to talk about misogynoir, and I pray that this is not the first time you have come into contact with this term. If it is, don't worry. I have the definition for you. This term was originally coined by a woman named Moya Bailey, and misogynoir is misogyny directed towards Black, transgender, and cisgender women in American visual and popular culture, grounded in intersectionality. Originally, it was coined to describe the discrimination against Black women in hip-hop and the sexualization of them as well. But since then, it has taken on more of a broad sense, and misogynoir is often weaponized against darker-skinned Black women. Acknowledging intersectionality allows us to classify and point out anti-Blackness and misogynoir when we see it. This is kind of why Tyler Perry movies are so problematic. They support the mammy stereotype, strong Black woman, angry Black woman, fat Black woman, loud Black woman, and Black women can be all of these things, but we are not limited to them. Similarly, transmisogynoir is a term that was coined by Trudy of the womanist blog Radiant Lair to acknowledge intersectionality, because even though trans women are women, by being trans, their experiences as women and Black women in this context are unique compared to a Black woman who is cisgendered. And trans Black women have been at the forefront of pretty much all movements. I guess this is the part where I start speaking a little bit candid, right? I have so many issues with people who have such hateful worldviews. I struggle to see the validity of any of their claims of any person who considers themselves to be A, a Trump supporter, and B, just transphobic, homophobic, racist. Why? What is the point of this? How do they come to believe these things? Well, a lot of people would agree that it has a lot to do with the system. But what is the system? It's not some big, entity. We are a part of the system, and we also function within the system? Which aspects promotes this hateful perspective? Of course, this harkens back to slavery and white supremacy and capitalism, okay? For which white supremacy and the enslavement of black and brown people was at its height. But if we're talking on a more recent, more modern level, it has a lot to do with desirability politics. What is desirability politics? Come on, you knew I was gonna say it. Don't act like that. Desirability politics tends to have a variety of different implications online, depending on who you speak to. A lot of these terms do. Think woke. The term woke was originally coined by a black woman. It was for black and brown people to wake up, essentially, and acknowledge that the system they function under was not built for them and does not serve them, and certainly does not protect them. You also hear about desirability politics a lot when people discuss fetishizations, the patriarchy, or as a framework for understanding why we find certain traits sexually and or romantically desirable. But what does that even mean? What are these things based on? You have 3 guesses. I'll give you 5 seconds. White supremacy. Because of white supremacy and the actions by the people who uphold white supremacy, and they promote Eurocentric beauty standards, weirdly, by also sexualizing and dehumanizing everyone else in the process. So what does that mean? According to desirability politics, the most desirable you can be is a white cisgendered man. Do you have any guesses for who's at the bottom? Dark-skinned black women. Sorry, dark-skinned trans black women. You see why we went over those cute little terms at the beginning? Did you like my little PBS segment? Me neither. But unfortunately, some people don't know how to use Google and they don't want to. But you will suffer regardless. That's the joke. The joke is on all of us. It is the human condition to suffer. And for a lot of people who feel like they're not affected, they believe the alternative is just ignorance, because ignorance is bliss, right? I want you to understand that I am angry. I am sad. I am disgusted. I am repulsed. I am frustrated. When you see me do my little vlogs and trying to, you know, live under this system, just know I never stopped being angry. And I don't think we should ever stop being disgusted. I don't think we should ever normalize this behavior. That being said, let's get back to desirability politics for a second. Desirability politics is powerful for 2 reasons. Number 1, people don't think it exists. They don't want to accept it, because that would mean that the American dream is a lie. That would mean that the system is working against their upward mobility. That would mean that the government doesn't actually work for them, and their entire worldview comes crashing down. So they either choose not to believe it exists, or simply, number 2, they just don't see anything wrong with it. But desirability politics is a social construct, and it can be unlearned. I believe we need to first begin by questioning our biases and prevent them from causing us to treat other people differently. Before you choose to talk about the immigrants in our country, maybe you should ask yourself, why do you care? Do you believe it affects you directly, or did you actually prove that it affects you directly? Or do you just believe that because someone else told you so? I'd rather not. I'd rather choose the human thing, and you should too. We were never truly equal. And even though we've come a long way, and a staggering short amount of way at the same time, because 2 things can be true at once, the struggle has not been linear, and it certainly isn't over. And it didn't have to be this way. We could have chosen the progressive route, but this country chose not to show up. A lot of people say, oh, America voted for him, as in Donald Trump. No, they didn't. America didn't vote. Record highs of, first of all, voter fraud, and also people just not showing up to the polls. I made a mistake. I wish I could say that it was just a test of your media literacy and whether or not you would fact check me. The truth was, I was really passionate and upset, and I was more than a little motivated by some talking points I'd seen online. There has been evidence of voter fraud, but not mass voter fraud. There's almost always evidence of some kind of voter fraud, but it's usually not onto the level that it can actually sway a vote. But considering how close the election was, it is still surprising to now know, after I looked up the facts, because in the making of this video, it was more rant than anything. As I'm editing, I did decide to fact check myself, because we are not perfect human beings, and everybody should be constantly fact checking themselves. You don't want to be spewing out false information. So actually, according to usnews.com, probably not the most reliable source, I can admit, but their website had the most comprehensive view that I could find. They grabbed from how many eligible voters there were in the election, and apparently there was about 240 eligible voters. That's people over 18 and people who are not felons. Only 150 million people showed up, so that means that 90 million people literally did not vote. and I believe had 45 million. Half of those people showed up. We could have probably swayed a vote or 3. And also, it wasn't the record low in a decade. That was a lie. That was not true. But we had a 66% turnout in 2020 and a 60% turnout in 2016. In 2024, we had a 64% voter turnout. So actually 2% less than the previous term, even though there was about 5 million extra people who were now eligible to vote. Take everything with a grain of salt, and please keep researching and fact checking everybody. Continue with the video. People thinking to themselves that, you know what, now's the time to protest. Now's the time that I'm not gonna stick with my party. We could have had a black woman sitting as president, girl, and America decided not to show up for that black woman. Are you surprised? Because I'm not. You can disagree with anything anybody says, of course, that is your prerogative, but I think you should ask yourself why you disagree. Check your biases. Are you anti-black? Are you homophobic? That's nasty. It is. Today we were almost victims of a hate crime, bitch. My boyfriend can't even wear a fucking t-shirt without being hounded about his fucking sexual orientation. Are you joking? Oh, he would like to speak.
Crazy thing is, they're so up in arms about the way other people live their lives, and they claim to like want people to be normal. I think it's normal to mind your own fucking business. Not out here beating people, not out here committing crimes, hurting people. Just trying to fucking wear a t-shirt?
You know like, what the problem is though? It always was normal. And they're mad that it's becoming unnormalized.
Yeah.
Just because something is normal doesn't mean it's right. Literally for 400 years, justifying the beating black children to death and calling it discipline, black codes,
coming from
not Jim Crow laws.
To watch black people get executed.
And to take pieces home.
For drinking from the wrong water fountain.
Well, excuse me for being angry, but I'm not sorry. If you don't like what I'm saying, leave. Block me for all I care, but I'm gonna keep on speaking about this. So yeah, we could have had a black woman sitting as president, but because of anti-blackness, misogynoir, misinformation, the lack of media literacy, and the not like us mentality, the other, we failed. And we are now going backwards. If you didn't vote and you're saying it's because you supported Palestine, it's what you tell yourself to sleep at night. If you chose to vote for Jill Stein or Donald Trump because of economic policies, or because you thought he was gonna do something for Gaza, you're dumb. I see this thing get floated around every Black History Month, and it is this quote: stop using Martin Luther King as example of peaceful protest. They shot him too. Assassinated Malcolm X. Assassinated. The Black Panther Party essentially eradicated. But the message is clear, right? If you're not like us, you don't deserve coverage. Israel and Lebanon versus Sudan, Congo, and Tigray. The multiple names I listed at the beginning of this video. And to all of the names that I couldn't find. Sure, there's a lot of racist white people, but I'm not like them, right? That's what you want to believe, and then you vote for Jill Stein. Simply because deep down you don't want to see a black woman as president. You feel like for some reason she's not qualified. She was possibly the most qualified presidential candidate in the last decade, but she wasn't good enough. She wasn't perfect, and nobody else is kept to that same standard. The aftermath of the election was just as bad. Like when I tell you, I saw so many disgusting things being said, and people just coming out and being disappointed and being like, look, this is what you wanted, right? The racist tweets and cancellations, the performative activism. I'm talking about the Maya Ayuni and Tory Greer situation about endorsement, the Anika Shea and Khalil drama about whether or not people really support Palestine, if they were really about the boycott. Hey guys, it's Editing Simi. This mic is actually not attached to my camera, it's attached to my computer for when I stream. Shameless self-promo. Granted, a lot of this backlash is from TikTok creators, but I have seen a lot of people playing the blame game on YouTube as well. I did notice that some of these TikTok creators naturally gravitate towards drama, and some people have their own anti-black histories. Keep a critical eye and do research on the people you're critiquing or the people that you're told to just hate. Notice patterns and hold everybody accountable, but things are not always black and white. You might tell yourself there's no way a black person could think that way. There's no way black people could support Trump. They do. I like to call them Uncle Ruckus or raccoons, and it tends to be a result of misinformation, a lack of education, internalized racism. What I'm highlighting here is that there is an apparent lack of solidarity, not just between people of color, but in the black community as well. And this is another result and goal of white supremacy, to keep us apart and to keep us ununited. I like to think of two examples in like movies I've watched, and ironically Michael B. Jordan is a part of both of those. In Black Black Panther T'Challa versus Killmonger. Even though Killmonger hated colonizers in the movie, he despised the motherland more, and he sat there and fought with people when he didn't have to because of the things that he was taught in Western society. That is a result of white supremacy. Another example is in Creed 3 when he was against I'm forgetting his name right now, but Megan Good ex
Jonathan Majors, the guy who's still with
Jonathan Majors.
Megan Good.
He's not still with Megan Good.
It's his Coretta, remember?
Oh my god, yeah. Yikes. In real life, Michael B. Jordan and Jonathan Majors are promoting Eurocentric beauty standards simply by who they choose to date and who they choose to purposely not date. But we cannot deny the black man against black man narrative. It is the result of desirability politics that black people become Uncle Ruckuses, if you will. Now, this might just be a me thing, but I know a lot of other black people feel the same way. And I feel so bad even just putting her name in my mouth because I don't really interact with her content. I decided I didn't like her and I just kept pushing. But I feel like this is an interesting case study to talk about in the context of black people with internalized racism, or who feel like they reach a certain proximity to whiteness because of their wealth or social status, and they feel as though they're now not like us. And that is the TikToker Fanita. She's been on record saying that she won't date black men. There was that whole shebang about the Tarte Trip, which is a makeup company, if you're not aware. A makeup company that has been under fire about not having enough shades for black and brown people. And I remember another occasion where they had black influencers on their brand trip and they were also being mistreated. So desirability politics, I'm telling you, it's all related. So there were black women on this Tarte brand trip that were being mistreated on this trip, and Fanita went on record being like, I was treated just fine. Like, I don't know what these black women are talking about. She's also made a lot of fat phobic comments and just in general commenting a lot on other people's looks. And another case study, side note, is Ekane and her colorism and the people that follows Ekane. And y'all are not gonna like me for this one, but I don't support Kai Cenat. I don't support the negative stereotypes that he perpetuates. That's my opinion. I'm not saying you can't have a personality. I'm not saying you can't be emotive. But when you go online and you portray yourself a certain way, you need to be careful about how others will perceive you, because you are not the only person that exists. And the things you say and do have consequences, regardless of however which way you meant them. Who knows? Maybe I'll cut that bit out. Some other raccoonish behavior, as it is the end of Black History Month. Let's just stop doing these things, okay? No more 20v1s. Colorism, cut that shit out. Light-skinned people have benefited from the privilege of being light-skinned and have actively taken away opportunities from darker-skinned black people. You have to acknowledge that. Another thing on the list, pop the balloon.
I was hoping you wouldn't say pop the balloon, man.
Pop the balloon. It was funny for a minute. I was even watching this content creator called Mitch, and then I was like, you know, the shit that she reacts to can be the baddest hourglass body black woman with a college degree, business of her own. She could be incredibly fit. She could want to be a mom. She could be fucking Christian. And these black men will treat her like she's a scum of the earth. Be like, no, I don't like the way your toes look. I don't like the shape of your teeth. I'm sorry, massa. It's crazy. And to watch that shit, to not acknowledge the misogynoir, to not acknowledge the reasons why these black men think that way, and to just move on and act like it's all funny and haha and kiki, I didn't agree with it. So I had to unsubscribe. It sucks. There should be content for us. There should be spaces for black people where we don't have to resort to Tyler Perry tactics. Like, why can't we just all be black and exist in the space? Of course we can have things for ourselves, but girl, pop the balloon. There was a bitch on there with her baby. I saw a video that was recommended to me, and maybe it's still recommended to me actually. Let me just go see. No, it's refreshing. Cozy K literally just posted. Herbie Revelis. He made that video and it's recommended to me, and I'll probably watch it after this. I was just thinking to myself, like, I'm not checked out. I can't afford to be checked out. You can't afford to be checked out. Girl, there's no money in the Social Security. You're gonna pay your tax and they're gonna take it.
Medicare is gonna get cut.
That's what I'm saying. The cost of food is only gonna get higher. But there are things that we can do to change it. For example, seamless transition. Please, if you're not already registered to vote, please register to vote. There will be 2 House seats up for grabs on April 1st.
There's 3 special elections to the United States Congress, and 2 of the 3 are in Florida. For the U.S. House, districts 1 and 6. Their state seats up as well.
If you're in those districts and are able to vote, please vote. If not, spread the word. Number 2, support Black-owned businesses. It's not that difficult. And support Black creators, Black and brown people. And not just in Black History Month, year-round. Number 3, question yourself. Question everything. I say this all the time. Question me. Question the things you read. Seek out other answers. And the last thing I want you to do, focus on yourself and try your best to be a better person every single day. For me, and what it means to be a good person, good people do shit like this. So talk about it. Other people don't have to suffer for you to be happy. It's okay for others to have the same things that you have. You know how much money it costs to end hunger in America? All of the billionaires attending Trump's inauguration could solve Americans' hunger like it's just Tuesday. And it's negligible if it was actually split, even between the 3 billionaires he sat next to. It's the difference between an extra yacht or like private jet. So don't stop thinking and don't stop making your voice heard. This was very therapeutic for me, so thank you for listening. I will catch you in the next one. Bye.